You asked for it. You got it. Advanced level Korean for today. Welcome, everyone. If you just arrived, you are early. We always start right on the dot, about at 2 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time, I think, right now. Yes, so we will start in about 15 minutes. So everyone, welcome. Thank you for coming. Again, yes, this will be an advanced level lesson. I know we don't do too many of these. Most of our lives tend to be intermediate level, but I got requests from members like you, channel members, to do more advanced topics. So that's what we're going to be doing today. The topic we have today is not necessarily like crazy advanced, like you don't have to be like a genius or anything. You don't have to be fluent in Korean to learn it, but you do need to know these prerequisites, I recommend, highly recommend, before trying to do this topic, or else it's going to just go right over your head. So the prerequisites, I'll go over those really quick, are knowing the forms 타 or taga, so like 하다가, 가다가, 타가는, so 가다가는, which is different than 가다가, 가다가, 가다가는, different forms. You want to know these, as well as the standard if form, 면, so 하면, or the stronger hypothetical if form, 한다면. So you want to know all of these pretty well before attempting to learn this topic. Don't let me tell you what to do, but my advice would be to learn these really quick and then come back to this lesson. That way you get the most out of it, because in order to really understand this form, we're going to be comparing it to these ones as well. Okay, with that said, oh, hey, Arlie. Everyone say hi to our moderator, Arlie. That's why her name is in blue, signifying she is a moderator. Fatima Zahra Darif. There's no way I can pronounce that. Fatima Zahra Darif. Welcome to our new member. And then immediately they cancel their membership after hearing me do that. Let's see. Oh, board's working properly. Cool. I'm just gonna write Fatima. Is that really, no disrespect, is that really your name, your first name? I'm gonna write the whole thing. AHRA. Okay. Our new member. Welcome. Yes, if you are a channel member, you get to suggest future topics. So if there's a topic that you want me to teach that I haven't already taught, send it to me. If you're a channel member, I might add it to the list of voting options. Next time we do a vote, there are going to be 4 or 5 brand new options from member suggestions. Again, all of them come from member suggestions. So if you feel like, Billy, I really want you to teach this grammar form and you've never taught it before, or I really want you to reteach this in more detail, it wasn't good, or I want it taught with more examples or whatever, give me a suggestion. I might add it to the vote. Again, that is for only channel members. So that's because I have too many requests from everyone else otherwise. Okay. So, yes. Okay, it is your real name. Fatima Azara. Okay, that's a cool name. I'll just say. Fatima Azara Darif. You've said your name, and it's like a full sentence. Okay. Brenda Avila. Hey, Billy, greetings from Mexico. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming to my stream all the way from Mexico. Okay, so announcements before we get started at 2. We still have about 10 minutes left. The worksheet for today's lesson is already on Patreon, so you can pick up that right now. As well as soon as this live stream is finished, you'll be able to access the outline for this lesson, which I'm holding right here. I know you can't really read it, but this is all the sentences we're doing today in the live stream, as well as the general explanations for it. So if you don't want to take notes, or you just want to review things later, I recommend getting the outline for the lessons. They're available for every single live stream I've ever done since 2018. So you can get all of those right now as well on Patreon. Also, if you are a channel member, of which Fatima Darif is from today, if you're like, if you're like her, then you get to access this live stream abridged, so edited tonight, right after it's finished airing. I'm going to start editing this and you'll be able to watch it just a few hours after it's finished. So you can do that for another quick review, or maybe you missed the streams, you can't watch them, but you don't want to have to sit through, you know, a 2-hour long stream. You can watch the abridged versions, and those are usually just 10, 15 minutes long. Today's will probably be about that length too. So yeah, that's another benefit for all of you wonderful channel members. Thank you again for supporting me. I know that I would still want to do this even if I didn't have any supporters, but your support enables me to keep doing it without having to stress too much about being able to feed myself. So I really do appreciate all of my channel members and supporters. Okay, other announcements. We have a very active, well, most of the time it's very active, Discord channel. I'm going to put a link in the chat for that. So whenever, sometime it'll load up. Might have to wait a second. Also, there is some new merchandise. Let me pick that here. Where is that? The Billy Key. Oh yeah, I have a brand new one. Okay, I'll put this one up. There's another brand new merchandise. There are actually 2 new ones. There's there's some dabbing merch, and now there's a new one, which is a Keycat wearing my clothes, pretty much. Keycat wearing my hat and a scarf that looks like this shirt. So that's also new. You can check that out. It's just another way to support my channel. If I ever run into anyone wearing any of my merch in Korea someday, I'm going to stop you and ask you to take a picture. So that's another possibility. Who knows? I'm going to be in Korea again sometime later this year, and next year I'll probably go 3 times. So it's a possibility. If you're ever in Korea, we might run into each other. All right, another announcement. Oh yes, and our last announcement, very important. Next Sunday, there is no live stream. Next Sunday. Only next Sunday, there is no live stream. That is because I always do 3 live streams in a row, and then I take 1 week off for a break because, you know, I don't want to have to do every single week. It gives me a little bit of time to work on other projects that I have. So yes, this Sunday, today we have one. Next Sunday, no. The next Sunday, yes, again, we'll do 3 in a row. Just so you know. And of course, if I'm going to Korea again, I'll let you know in advance because live streams will stop these sort of live streams will stop while I'm in Korea if I go. Just letting you know, next Sunday, there will be no live stream. Okay, all of the announcements are done. Let me just look at the chat and see who's hanging out here. Teacup. Gosh, Billy, I miss your content. I miss your classes. Welcome. Let's see. Checking here, the chat, see who else is here. Allez les francophones, on met le feu, étudiez bien. I know that's not how you say hi, but that's how I'm going to say it. Let's go French speakers. Yes, nice. Again, I do not speak French. Yes, throwaway. Let's go with another advanced lesson. Yes, so advanced lessons. Most of my lessons, as you're aware, if you've seen the other ones, most of them are, actually, I would say most are like intermediate level. If we really talk about what level do they fall into, most of them fall into the intermediate category. Next would be beginner, and then last would be advanced. Obviously, because most people who study Korean don't go along with it long enough to reach the advanced level. So you end up with a pool of people who are mostly beginner simply because most people start Korean. More people are starting Korean than necessarily get fluent at it, right? That makes sense. But because of that, it's harder to get advanced topics when learners want to learn advanced topics. But since I introduced the new system where only members can make requests, it has been a lot easier to get advanced topics suggested. So that's why we have this for today. It is more of an advanced topic. But again, if you are not advanced, at least please be familiar with these forms so that you could follow along. But it will be most beneficial for people who are kind of going into that advanced level, since this is not, you don't need this form to have basic conversations in Korean. I'll say that first. Diana, Billy, where in America do you live? Cali? Yep, I'm in Los Angeles. So if you fly to LA right now, you'll land at the airport, LAX. You'll get off the plane and you'll see me standing right there. I'm right there. That's where I am in LA. Of course, I'd be right there. Jim says, 한국어 너무 힘들어. Okay. Teacup, I just came back and he read my comment. 121314151. Okay, your name. Your French was amazing. You're too kind. I know how my French sounds, okay? I know how bad it sounds. I don't care. I don't care. It's okay. I don't have to teach. I'm not teaching French, okay? If I want to, that's the thing is I could have spoken decent French if I had practiced it throughout high school while taking, 4 years of French. I could have practiced it if I had someone to practice it with, but I knew no one to speak French with. Even I tried to send pen pal letters. I wouldn't get replies back. So I had no one to write French with, so I never got to practice it. So as a result, I forgot all of my French. And I couldn't even remember last stream. I couldn't even remember the word for class. And then someone reminded me it was cours, la cours. But I couldn't even remember that the French word for class. So yeah, it's pretty bad. No teacher, it sounded very good. Yes, you're too kind. You're very, very too kind to say that. Give me something in French, I'll read it, and we'll see how it sounds. Will you re-explain what Taga means? We're not going to be doing a re-explanation of that because it's a full form. I'll mention it, but I would recommend quickly, you have about 5 minutes, quickly just skimming through the Taga lesson that I have on in my live abridged playlist, because that would be better than me taking 5 or 10 minutes out of the class today to re-explain it. Because these would each take 5-10 minutes to re-explain this one also. So that would be 15-20 minutes to re-explain this. That would cut into half of our lesson time for today. I want to make sure we have plenty of time to do lots of example sentences, because really these forms, you get good at them by hearing them used a lot and then by using them yourself a lot. So I don't want to have to cut off any of the example sentences. Le Coréen est une langue magnifique. Yes, the Korean is a beautiful, wonderful language. Le Coréen est une langue magnifique. You have to add the to the end, or it's not real French, I heard. If you don't add that, j'adore le café au lait. Mais oui, I like coffee with milk. Yes. Try Swahili. Okay, if you write some Swahili, I will read it. Just don't write anything bad. I don't want to get, kicked off of YouTube or anything. Because I really won't know what the Swahili says. Although I can read what the French says if someone writes it. I know you're not telling me bad words. Okay, here it is. Here. Je veux apprendre le coréen, mais c'est plus difficile. Oui? What is je pensais? Okay. Wait, I don't even know that word. Wait, does that mean more than? A lot more difficult than I thought. Okay. We don't do ha ha ha. You do ha 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 in private. When all the tourists are gone, when you're TV, the cameras are off, and it's just you and your French friend. You're like, ha ha. Ha ha ha. And you just, ha ha ha. Mais oui, ha ha ha. Yes, that's what you do when no one's around. I know. Don't deny it. I took 5-6 years of French, okay? I know how it works. That's what it is. Okay. All right, we're gonna get started. My vocabulary French. Croissant. Yes, that's a good word. Hors d'oeuvres. Crepe. It's funny, it's not even making fun of French. Those are really good things, right? Here, seriously, who doesn't like crepes and croissants? It's ha ha ha, French. You guys like croissants, and yeah, those are actually really good. Okay. Getting off track. Welcome to Go Billy Korean. C'est pas Go Billy Français. And today we're going to be doing Okay. Why is it all French today? I think it's because of last live stream when we were just mentioning French for a little bit. Puis au moment où les gens parlent français. Yes, you're here just in time. Do you know Arabic? No, I don't. Someone said, 왜 시작 안 하죠? Well, we always start at 2, so we haven't started yet. Don't worry. 많이 봤는데 정말 도움이 되더라고요. 그런데 이번 라이브 처음이에요. 기대 많이 돼요. Oh yeah. Nice. Welcome, Haya. Haya! Do you speak Portuguese? No. I mean, no. That's probably the Portuguese word for no, right? Oh, we got a new member. Hey, Hami. We got 2 new members today. Remember, members get access to the abridged versions tonight, so you don't have to wait like everyone else. Okay, and in the future there will also be even more member benefits, so don't worry. But I don't want to announce it yet. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm working on some stuff. Might take a while before it comes out, but I'm working on stuff. All right. You asked for it. I listened. Let's get started with our advanced level lesson on the grammar form 다 보면. Now, what is this grammar form? Well, it is actually very, very simple to conjugate. You take a verb stem and you attach 다 보면. That's all you have to do. No special tricks. You always just use the plain present tense verb stem. So if you have the verb 하다 to do, it's just ha. You do not ever use the past tense or future tense verb stem. So you're not going to do like 하겠다 보면 or 했다 보면 or anything like that. Always just 하다 보면. Very easy. And since it's the verb stem, it doesn't matter what kind of verb you're using. It doesn't matter what the verb ends with. It's always just the verb stem. It can be like 뺏다. I mean, this is not a verb. Don't write this down. But it would just be 뺏다 보면. Okay, don't learn this. It doesn't matter. So very easy to conjugate. However, what this form actually is it's a combination of the taga form with the verb 보다, to see, transformed into the if form as 보면. So literally, Taga. Remember, I'm not going to be doing a lesson about this because this is a prerequisite you should know for today's lesson. If someone continues to do something, so while doing something, something interrupts it or something happens while that's happening, literally. 보다. And if you see that, so kind of like if you're doing A being the verb, B will happen. So let's kind of look at that for a second. Let's take 하다. Let's take 하다 as an example. 하다 보면. Oh yes, I should say this before we do that. So since it came from the taga form, you might also see taga 보면, but it's much less common. 99.99999% of the time, just as much bacteria that gets killed by sanitizer, it's going to be 다 보면. So that's really all you have to learn. You don't even need to worry about that. But you might see it. It's the same form. So if we take 하다 보면, we literally get you're doing something, and while it's happening, it hasn't finished yet, but while it's happening, if you look at that, so like while doing something, if you take a step back and look, that's kind of the literal meaning that you get. In practical usage, what does this form mean? It means if someone continues doing something, then something will happen. So if we say 하다 보면, if you keep doing something, if you're doing something, while you're doing it, you're going to see. So it's kind of like if you're doing something and you take a look at what you're doing, you take a look at what's going on, then you'll notice that something. That like literally that's kind of what it means. So it's used to say if we have A 다 보면. Okay, let's look at this. For example, A verb 다 보면, and then B is the rest of the sentence. So this means that if you do A, then the result will be B. Pretty simple, right? I mean, grammatically, it's pretty simple. The only tricky part of this is figuring out when do you want to use it. So I'm going to give you some better translations for this form now that we've covered what it literally means and how it works. So if you do A, so 하다 보면, so if you're doing A, whatever 하다 is, so let's just say 요리하다, cooking. 요리하다 보면, so if you're cooking, well then the result will be, what do you think could be a result of if you're doing cooking? If you keep doing cooking like that, what do you think could be a result? Take a second, think about it. Write it in chat. I'll check the chat while you're doing that. Maintenant, il parle français avec nous. I don't speak any languages except English and Korean. I'll say those confidently. After that would be Japanese. My Japanese listening is not bad. Speaking is pretty bad, basic. And on a good day, it's intermediate. But I still know more Japanese than French. Yeah, Naruto. That's correct, Naruto. You will get better. I see several people wrote that. You could be a chef or a good cook. Yeah, you'll feed a lot of people. Not quite. Because it's just if you cook. It's not if you're cooking a lot of food. If you do cooking, the result will be, well, if you keep cooking, you'll notice. So while cooking, if you keep doing it, you're going to come to realize that you've gotten good at it. You'll get good at it. That sort of meaning. So if you do a lot of cooking, if you keep cooking, the result will be that you'll get good at it. That could be something that you could translate this as. So there are a couple ways that you can translate this very naturally as, which will probably help you to understand it. Let me give you two of those. One way is, once you do something, or once you start. So just like our example with cooking, once you cook, you're going to get good at it. You'll eventually get good at it. Or once you start cooking, you'll get used to it, or maybe you'll come to like it. Something like that, right? These could be natural ways to translate it. Once you do something or once you start. Now, there is no word start in this grammar form anywhere, but it's a very natural way to translate it into English, because in English, we just add this word into this sort of idiomatic expression. So although there is no word start, it doesn't literally mean once you start. It means more like once you do something. Even though there's no word start in the sentence, it's still a very good translation for it. So keep this one in mind. I really like this one. So once you start cooking, you'll get good at it. You'll start to like it. You'll get used to it. It's not that big of a deal. It gets easier. All of these types of things could work for our simple example, and a lot more. Another way to translate is, if you keep doing something, if you keep cooking, right? Kind of the same idea. So once you start cooking, you'll get good at it. Once you start cooking, you'll get good at it. Or if you keep cooking, you'll get good at it. That sort of thing. So again, if you do something, if you do A, the verb, the result will be B. And these are three natural ways to translate it. There's another way to translate it. Let's see. There's another way to translate it that we're going to talk about a little bit later. And that is bound to. Now, this is not the grammar form to translate the expression bound to into Korean. There is a different grammar form if you want to say, like, if you travel to Korea, you're bound to run into a few people who can speak English. That's a different form. In fact, I've actually already done a live stream about that. And I'll talk about this a little bit later when we get to a sentence that translates like this. But it's a very good way to translate from Korean to English. Not English to Korean. Keep that in mind. This only works when you're translating Korean to English, not when you're trying to think about how to translate English back to Korean, because there's a different form you want to use for that most of the time. But it does work nicely for Korean to English because, let's take our previous example. Once you start cooking, or if you start cooking, or if you keep cooking, you're bound to get good at it. You're bound to get good at it. that also has the same meaning. You're going to get good at it. You're bound to get good at it. It makes sense that you're going to get good at it, or literally again, the result will be, right, that you get good at it. So it also works as a really natural translation. Again, not literal, but natural translation for this form. Okay, and we'll go back to that when I go to a sentence for it. We'll go back to that later. Let me check here. Oh, and then one more thing, only one more thing you need to know about this form, at least for right now. That is, the sentence cannot end in the past tense or the future tense. Oh, sorry. Can't end in the past tense. Let me say that again. It's like, I read my paper and because I wrote down future and I read it in the wrong order. Just like the form Taga는, this form also cannot end in the past tense. So if you have a sentence, you have A 다 보면 D. If you have a sentence like A 다 보면 B, then the end of the sentence could not be 했어요, past tense. It could not be past tense. Instead, you can make your sentence present tense or future tense, but it cannot be past tense. Why? Because if you keep doing something, the result will be, or the result is, that you died. Doesn't work. It has to be, it's talking about the future. If you're doing something, something happens, or something will happen, right? Not something happened. If you keep doing that, you're bound to dead. Like, if you keep doing that, or once you start cooking, you know, you burn the food. Like, it doesn't match, right? The tense doesn't match. So you have to use this with present or future tense, for example, but you cannot use this with past tense because logically it doesn't flow. Okay, just keep that as a note. And the same thing applies to Taga는, which we already did when I did the live stream about that form. So yeah, no difference there. But that doesn't apply to the regular Taga form. In case you're curious, in case you're like, you know, you actually didn't do any of the prerequisites, but you're here anyway. And you're like, well, what about Taga? Can I use it? Taga's fine. No, Taga doesn't have any restriction like that because it doesn't mean if some sort of meaning, if you do something, something will happen. It just means while doing something or, you know, in the process of doing something, like that sort of meaning. So yeah, it only applies to this form and Taga는, not the regular Taga by itself. Okay. Let me write up an example sentence. Someone said, you can't use it for death. No, past tense. You can't use it for past tense. Okay. I mean, you could say if you keep doing that, you will die, right? You know, if you keep, I don't know what we really do. You keep doing like Evel Knievel style jumps in your Segway, you know, you're bound to die. Sure, that works as an example. But you wouldn't use it in the past tense because it doesn't work logically. Okay, let's do our first example sentence. I'm going to write it up on the board and then I'm going to check the chat for a moment, just see how everyone's doing. Let me know in the chat, how are you doing? How do you feel about this so far? I know we haven't done any example sentences yet, but how do you feel about it? Or you could wait until I write the sentence, try to read it, and then tell me how you feel about the form. So let me write our first sentence here. And if you're wondering, you want to get a bunch more example sentences for this form, check out the worksheet on Patreon, and there's another like 10 sentences that you can practice with that are even more difficult and longer than the ones we're doing today. Okay, I think that's good. I'm going to leave this on the board for a second. Try to read it. You can try to translate it. 매일 책을 읽다 보면 읽는 속도가 빨라질 거예요. 매일 책을 읽다 보면 읽는 속도가 빨라질 거예요. This is a pretty standard sentence using this form. 읽다 보면, 읽다, to read. Think about it. Let me know how you're doing. We're going to take a quick break. Small says, good. Nice, nice. It's the return of the invisible. Yeah, you know, I still have my friend who works at the top secret military agency, and he still gave me a couple more of these pens. Yeah, they're pretty cool. If you keep jamming that fork, yes. If you keep, that's true. However, you want to know the form Taga는 before doing this form because they're different. Taga는 would be the form that you would use to warn someone about something. And we covered that when I did the lesson about Taga는. So if you're trying to warn something like, hey, if you keep doing that sort of emotion, this is not the form you want to use. This form, not that it can't be used for that sort of meaning, but it doesn't have any sort of negative connotation. So that's why I didn't even mention any connotation when teaching it. It can be something good. It's simply you're saying, if you do this, the result will be this. You know, if this is the result. Okay. Yeah, I'm reading some of I'm not going to read the translations that you're writing out loud because I don't want to spoil it. Iman says, how do I feel? Literally crying. You should not be crying at this lesson. It means that you're not ready for the lesson yet. Just like you wouldn't cry that you can't draw the Mona Lisa when you first tried to learn art, you should not cry if you can't understand this form if you're not ready for it yet. So that's what the prerequisites are for. You want to make sure you know all those prerequisites first, and then you're not going to cry. You know, prerequisites, they're like I was trying to make a dumb metaphor about like no tear shampoo. Okay, do the prerequisites. Don't push yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself if it doesn't make any sense. Right? Doesn't make sense to beat yourself up if you're not ready for that lesson yet. If you start studying Korean and then 1 month later you're complaining that you can't speak fluently, no, it's not fair to yourself. Okay. It's 속도, 한미, not 속다, 속도. If you look up 속도 in the dictionary, you'll find it. It's a very standard word. Why are the emojis so big? I don't know. I don't think they're big. Are they? They look normal to me. I mean, they're a little bigger than the text, but they're not like giant for me. Okay. Good. So yes. 매일 책을 읽다 보면 읽는 속도가 빨라질 거예요. 매일, every day. 책, book. 읽다, to read. So, if you're reading every day, the result of that will be 읽는 속도. 속도 means speed. How fast you're going. So your reading speed. 읽는 속도, reading speed. 빨라지다 comes from 빠르다, to be fast. 빨라지다, to get fast. So your reading speed will get fast. You'll get fast at reading if you're reading every day. So it's kind of like if you keep reading books every day, your reading speed will get fast. Or 더 빨라질 거예요. We'll get more fast. You know, faster. That's okay too. 매일 책을 읽다 보면 읽는 속도가 빨라질 거예요. So you'll get faster at reading if you're reading every day. Right? That makes sense. Okay. Let's look at this in another way for translation purposes. So literally I said if you keep doing that, but you could also think it like once you start reading a book a day, your reading speed will get faster. Once you start. Also works too. Or just once you read. Once you're reading a book every day, once you're doing that, then your reading speed is going to get faster. Okay, so you can think about how you want to translate it. It's up to you because, like I said, the meaning is what's important. The translation, that's just for people who can't speak Korean. The translation is for people who don't speak that language. So the translation itself isn't too important as long as you've got the concept. You could say once you start reading books every day, then you're bound to get faster at reading. That works too. Very natural. Same form, same meaning. So it doesn't matter how you translate it. Okay, let's do another form. I mean, not another form. Let's do another sentence. Like I said, if you still don't get it, hopefully once you've seen a few more sentences, it'll start to click a little bit more. 보다 보면. And I'm going to show you how it's not only used with the future tense. So we have many other tenses to choose from. In fact, I think that sentence is the only one in plain future tense. Yeah, that's the only sentence we have today in the regular future tense. So I'm doing this on purpose. Although a lot of times you'll use it in future tense, you don't have to. So every other sentence we're doing today is in this section for this form is different forms than the plain future tense. That was just 빨라질 거예요. So the 거예요 form, right? Will be. That's the only one we're doing today. The other ones are all different. Okay. Read this sentence once on your own and think about it. And then I'm going to go over what it means. 계속 돈을 모으다 보면 이 집을 살 수 있을까요? 계속 돈을 모으다 보면 이 집을 살 수 있을까요? Hey, Secretive. Everyone welcome our mod, Secretive. Nice, we have two mods in here. Arlie and Secretive are here. Okay, I'm not going to read your translations out loud, but I am looking at your translations if you're doing it in the chat right now. Let me just read the chat also. Let's see. Popo asks, do you have level for babies? As in like an actual baby? Or you mean beginner level? If so, yes, I have a full beginner Korean course. If you search Korean beginner Korean course on YouTube, you'll find it. There's 100 episodes and it's completely free. And that is for babies. No, I'm joking. That is for newbies, people who are new to Korean. Or you've already learned a little bit, but you're not yet able to have any conversations yet, then that's for you. Then this grammar point works nicely with 지다. It could, but it doesn't have anything to do with it. It's not like they go hand in hand. Yeah, Miss V means 모으다 means to gather. Cheryl, I recommend reviewing this form at the end because your translation's missing this. Let's see. 보라는 단어를 빼면 의미가 비슷한 것 같은데요. 보? Literally, you don't need to use this form. You can speak much more simply. You don't have to say, like, once you start, if you keep doing or anything like that, you can just say if, right? It still makes sense. It has a different connotation. The nuance is different. But if you just want to express if you do something, you can just use the regular if form, which is why you need to know that before this lesson. Otherwise, you might be wondering, why do I need to learn this? I can just use if. That's a basic part of Korean. And this is more advanced in that you don't need this form to speak Korean, but you'll hear it all the time. And if you know it, if you have it in your toolbox, you'll be able to make more intelligent sounding sentences. So instead of just saying, like our last sentence, instead of just saying, if you read a book every day, you can say that, but it doesn't sound as nuanced. It doesn't have the same connotation of implying that if you continue doing something, as this form does. You could just say 매일 책을 읽으면 읽는 속도가 빨라질 거예요. Or 매일 책을 읽다면, yeah, you can do that, but it doesn't have any of the connotation this form has, which implies that if you're continuing to do something, then the result is going to be, or you're bound to, just like you don't even need to use the expression, you're bound to get faster at reading. You can just say you will get faster at reading, right? So then why do you need it? To sound better, to sound more natural, to sound more intelligent if you want to have full conversations. So if you're not yet able to have full conversations, then this form isn't going to be super useful to you yet until you can actually use it, right? But at least you can understand it for the future. Eventually you will want this. Okay, I'm reading all of your translations. Start saying money, can I buy this house? Okay, very good. Yes, yes. Okay, let's go over the sentence. 계속, continually, 돈, money, 모으다. Literally to gather, but it means to save money. Not save as in to not use it. Like, oh, I'm saving my money. Not like that. Saving as in I'm saving up my money. Saving up. So if you keep saving your money, then 이 집, this house. 사다, to purchase or buy. 살 수 있을까요? Will I be able to, or could I be able to buy this house if I keep saving up my money? So if I keep saving up my money every day, if I keep saving up my money, would I be able to buy this house? 계속 돈을 모으다 보면 이 집을 살 수 있을까요? Well, not in this market, but normally, yes. You know, this is a, yeah, depends where you're trying to live, but a lot of house prices have been really going up a lot lately. So maybe, but let's just say yes because it's a good example sentence, right? 계속 돈을 모으다 보면 이 집을 살 수 있을까요? So if I keep saving up my money, will I be able to buy this house? Or do you think I'd be able to buy this house if I keep saving up my money? Kind of like that. You know, like a 10-year-old is like, wow, I love this house. 계속 돈을 모으다 보면 이 집을 살 수 있을까요? And then the parents like, yeah, 그럼, yeah, sure. Sure. 계속 돈을 모으다 보면 이 집을 살 수 있을까요? 이 집을 살 수 있을까요? So do you think I'd be able to buy this house? Could I buy this house if I keep saving up my money? Next sentence. Let's see, how are we on time? Terrible. Great. Okay. It's okay. I'd rather you understood it than rush through it anyway. So, right? I mean, that's the whole point of sitting down to study Korean, is that after you study, you know the concepts that you studied, that you can use them, that you didn't just spend your time looking at Korean, but you actually spent your time learning Korean. Sometimes I have that, like I would study something and then you study it for like 2 hours, you're like, yeah, that was a good study session. But then if you were to try to look back at what you're supposedly learning, you can't remember any of it. So it would have just been better, like, you know, you didn't really learn anything in that study session. So it's always better to actually learn something than to just spend the time studying, of course. 매운 음식도 계속 먹다 보면 안 맵게 느껴질 거예요. Actually, I said that was the last one with the future. I guess this one also has future. There was one more with future. Okay. 매운 음식. 매운, spicy food. So even spicy food. 계속 먹다 보면. So if you keep eating spicy food, even if it's spicy, 안 맵게. So not spicy, adverb. 느끼다 is to feel. 느껴지다. The food feels not spicy. So this literally means feel, but we would say taste in English. This is how you would translate taste. So it doesn't taste spicy anymore. 안 느껴질 거예요. Future tense. It's not going to taste spicy anymore. So if you keep eating spicy food often, it won't taste spicy anymore. Which is true. If you move to Korea, if you visit Korea, you won't experience this. But if you stay in Korea for a couple months and you know, your first time in Korea, it's everything you have is going to be really spicy. You're like, wow, kimchi, it's so spicy. And whoa, this, you know, the soup's so spicy. But then after you've been in there for a while, you're going to think, hey, it's actually, you know, this is like normal spicy. I want something really spicy today. You might start feeling like you want more spicy food, or food that normally would be spicy to you now is just like, you know, normal. Like, yeah, it has spice, but it's not like spicy. It's just like default, right? So if you eat a lot of spicy food every day, you'll start to feel like it's not spicy anymore. Okay. 매운 음식도 계속 먹다 보면 안 맵게 느껴질 거예요. So if you keep eating spicy food every day, it's not going to feel spicy anymore. Or it's not going to taste spicy anymore. 매운 음식, spicy food. 계속 먹다 보면. So this is the important part of this sentence. 계속 먹다 보면. So if you keep eating it, 계속, continually. So if you continue eating spicy food every day, or let's translate this a different way. Once you start eating spicy food every day, it's not going to feel spicy anymore. That works too. Or let's translate it another way. Once you start once you start eating spicy food every day, you're bound to not think it's spicy anymore. That could work. Anyway, however you want to translate it, doesn't really matter. Let's do another. And for the record, Korean food isn't really that spicy for the most of it. Some Korean food is actually very spicy. The majority is like, kind of spicy. And you'll think that too. I mean, as long as if you normally have spicy food, you'll think that too. It's not really that spicy. It's just like spicy enough, I'd say. Other countries have much spicier food, right? Like, what is that? Thailand, I think. Some Indian spices, some Mexican spices. It can be much spicier than typical Korean food. Of course, if you're from like the middle of nowhere in, I don't know, United States, where there are more cows than people, then maybe like, salt and pepper is spicy for you. I don't know. So I won't say it. I won't say I know how spicy things are to you, but if you have other countries' foods, Korean food's not really that spicy, I think. It's pretty edible. 똑같은 일. Okay, let's do this one. 여러 번 반복하다 보면, let me write this a little bit nicer. Smaller, but nicer. 보면. Okay, what does this sentence mean? I'm going to move away for a second so you can see it. 하게 되더라고요. Oh, I just got a donation. Nice. Mirror, K Dances. Mirror, thank you. Wow. Coming in here with the $10 donation. Hello, I'm still barely learning Korean. Cry. But hopefully sometime soon I can join these advanced live classes and understand what is going on. Haha. Again, thanks for all the help. Oh, that's really kind of you. You're not even at this level yet, but you're still supporting my stream. I appreciate it. Thank you. We do 10 dabs for you. Oops. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to check your translations in the chat. Try to see what you can come up with. See if you can translate this. 똑같은 일을 여러 번 반복하다 보면 꿈에서도 하게 되더라고요. 꿈에서도 하게 되더라고요. 똑같은 일을 여러 번 반복하다 보면 꿈에서도 하게 되더라고요. If ranch dressing is your staple, then maybe it'll be spicy for you. Yeah. That's true. Okay, I'm reading your translation. I'm not going to read them out loud. I don't want to spoil it for anyone else who's writing them. Ivana, careful. There is no you will be able to. There is no can. So be careful not to add a meaning that isn't in the sentence. Although sometimes you might translate things a little differently. In that case, it's a different meaning, like can do something, which isn't in the sentence here. Nice. I see some very good translations, though. What else would be like if, yeah. You put like a little bit of pepper on your eggs, you're like, oh, that's spicy. Yeah, then you probably want to be, careful around Korean food. Pretty much, though, if you go to Korea, you are going to, let's say this. If, once you start studying Korean, you're bound to end up liking spicy food. That's kind of something you could say for this. Like, because even if you don't normally eat spicy food, through studying Korean, someday you're going to take a trip to Korea, or you're going to go to a Korean restaurant, right? you're going to eat Korean food. Korean food has a lot of spicy food in it. Not to say that every Korean food is spicy. There are lots of Korean food that's not spicy. But a lot of it is. So you'll end up having something that's spicy. So if you have it a lot, you'll end up getting used to it. And you'll end up eating a lot of spicy food. Okay, very good. If I keep trying to understand the sentence, my brain will explode. No, that wouldn't work here because that's like you're warning someone, which would be the Taga는 form, which I did recently, a few weeks ago. Okay, 똑같은 일, the exact same job, the exact same task. 똑같은 일을 여러 번, several times. 반복하다 is to repeat something. So you're repeating the same thing, you're repeating the same task several times, over and over again. And if you do that, well then, 꿈, your dreams. 꿈에서도, so in your dreams as well, 하게 되다. You're going to end up. So you end up, 하게 되더라고요. You'll end up. ARS, what is ARS? Hold on. Is the board still working? It didn't blink the last time either. Let me make sure. It's like $2. Cool. Hold on. Let me fix the board. Why is it not working? Did it just like die? It's not even responding. No. Why? Maybe their server is dead. I think it's just their server is down. So I'll have to check the, I'll just check the tablet though today. Thank you, Juan. Hey Billy, this is still too advanced for me, but I want to support your live stream anyway. You're amazing. I'm glad that I found your channel. Thanks, Juan. That's very nice. 2 dabs for you. Okay, so let's do the sentence. Oh, someone asked, why 더라고요? Please watch the 더라고요 form lesson that I've done. It's for recalling something from a personal experience that happened in the past. So I know from experience, kind of like that in this situation, though it's not always that sort of, it's not always that translation though. So anyway, yeah, I'd recommend watching the live stream. How about that? So, 똑같은 일을 여러 번 반복하다 보면, so if you keep doing the same thing, as in same task or same work, over and over again, 꿈에서도 하게 되더라고요. 꿈에서도 하게 되더라고요. You'll end up doing it in your dreams too. Like, you know, if you play Tetris all day and then you have a dream and you're going to be playing Tetris in your dream, that sort of thing. If you're studying Korean all day and that's all you're thinking about, then when you have dreams, you're going to be speaking in Korean or stressing trying to speak in Korean in your dreams. It's happened to me before. You know, you're spending all your time studying and then when you're going to sleep and you're just trying to relax, and in your dreams, you're like stressing, trying to make sentences in Korean or like understand Korean. You know, yeah, that's what happens. And that's what the 더라고요 kind of implies. Like, yeah, I know, you know, when you keep doing the same thing every day, you end up doing it in your sleep. That sort of thing. If you keep repeatedly doing the same thing or task several times, then you'll end up doing it in your dreams too. 똑같은 일을 여러 번 반복하다 보면 꿈에서도 하게 되더라고요. Okay. We still have a few more sentences for this form. So I said that this form can also translate to bound to. However, it's not idiotly. I was trying to say idiomatically, and I said, and it literally at the same time, and it came out as idiotly. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't translate idiomatically or literally as bound to. In fact, if you want to say the grammar form bound to normally, it's going to be 기 or 개 마련이다. And I'm not going to be teaching that today. I did a live stream about that March 14th of this year. So if you want to learn how to say bound to normally in other sentences, please see this live stream, or you can look up this form, 마련이다, on your own. But when you're going from Korean to English, not English to Korean, bound to will often be a natural thing you can add into the sentence. And although, like I said, it doesn't literally have anything to do with that, it matches very nicely to help you understand how the form is being used when you're translating it from the Korean, when you're translating from the Korean, when you're translating from Korean to English. This will be a good way, this will be a good phrase you can add in to make the sentence feel more natural to you, in case you're still kind of getting the hang of how it sounds. So let's do a sentence where it translates nicely as that. Anyone have kids? Who here has kids? You'll probably agree with this sentence. Or if you don't have kids, maybe you just kind of remember when you were a kid. Okay. Stressing about Korean in my dreams. And something else. All of my dreams. Naruto. I got a dream talking in Korean. I've had the funny thing is, despite being a Korean teacher, I rarely speak Korean in my dreams. Like I used to in the very beginning, I would have dreams about speaking in Korean. These days, no. Like I don't have dreams speaking Korean. I don't know why. Maybe I'm not stressed about it. Maybe that's why. Maybe my mind is not really stressing about trying to speak Korean, so it doesn't ever get into my dreams. Instead, sometimes I'll have dreams where I'm trying to speak in French and it's terrible. And I'm like really stressed because I can't make any sentences. Or a few nights ago, I had one where I was speaking in Japanese and it was like, I was only half sleeping. So I remember that I was actually making real sentences and it was bad, and understanding Japanese and it was bad. So it was just really stressful. I didn't like it, but not Korean. I've only had a few dreams where I'll be speaking in Korean with someone, but it's not like a stressful dream. It's just normal. So I'm guessing that I have dreams speaking in Korean. I just don't remember them. Okay. It means have to. No. Bound to means it's like, it's obvious that it will, is what it means. Like, of course, that sort of meaning. Of course this will happen. Okay. This is an example sentence where bound to will be a very natural translation. Let me read it once first. 아이들이 놀다 보면 싸울 수도 있죠. 아이들이 놀다 보면 싸울 수도 있죠. I, child, so 아이들, children. 놀다, to play. So when kids get together to play, 싸우다 is to fight. 싸우다, fight. 싸울 수도 있죠. So literally, well, if we look at it with our regular translation, we would get, once kids start playing together, or, you know, if kids keep playing together, they might fight. Like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but it kind of misses, like, why even make this sentence? But when you translate it by adding bound to, it makes a lot more sense. It sounds more like a natural sentence that you would want to say. You know, when kids can get in fights when they keep playing, instead of that, you have kids are bound to get in fights when they play together. Sounds much more natural, right? Now you can understand why someone might want to use this form, why someone might want to say this in the first place. Not just when kids play, they might fight. You're not just saying that, you know, 아이들이 놀면 싸울 수도 있어요. That's what it means. If you said 아이들이 놀면, so you remove this whole form entirely, you just get 놀면. So if kids play, they might fight. That's it. No, this form kind of adds that feeling of like, you know, this is the result. It adds that feeling of there's actually a result if you do something. 아이들이 놀다 보면, so if kids are playing together, well, they're bound to get in a fight. They're bound to fight. 싸울 수도 있죠. So you can see how this form adds a extra sort of nuance to the sentence that you wouldn't get if you were to just use the regular if form. Okay. And yeah, if you have kids, I have a kid, but if you have multiple kids, it's going to be worse. I grew up with 3 other siblings. Yes, we fought. Most of it was playful, though. Some of it was mean. Okay. Let's do 2 more sentences with this form, and then we have to talk about something else related to this form. Okay. 계속 가다 보면 아는 길이 나오겠죠? 계속 가다 보면 아는 길이 나오겠죠? So if you keep going, 계속 가다, if you keep going, well, the result will be, if you keep going, then what's going to end up happening is 아는 길, a road that you know, so a street that you recognize. 나오다, literally to come out. But if you say 나오다, it means like to appear. Like you might say an actor appears in that movie. So literally, there will appear a road that you know. There will be. There's going to be a street that you recognize. There's going to be a street that you know if you keep going. So if you keep going there, if you keep going, there will be a street that you know. So you might be giving directions to someone and then they say, like, how do I get back to the city? 저 계속 가다 보면 아는 길이 나올 거예요. 아는 길이 나오겠죠? Or you might say this to someone else you're driving with. Like, oh, I'm trying to find the street. I'm trying to find the city. And you're like, if we just keep going, 계속 가다 보면 아는 길이 나오겠죠? Like, if we keep going there, a street will, we'll recognize something. A street that we recognize will come up. Something like that. 계속 가다 보면 아는 길이 나오겠죠? 계속 가다 보면 아는 길이 나오겠죠? So if we keep going, a street that we know will come out, or literally, will come out, but, or more naturally, if you keep going, there will be a street that you know, or that I know. Okay, one more sentence that's only using this form. Again, we're not done, because there's more that we can talk about with this form, even if we're finished talking about this form. Let's do a longer sentence. We haven't done any long sentences yet. Actually, let me write this again, because I know though many of you are intermediate level, I should still write it a little bit easier to read. Although it's still easier to read, I think, than many natives' handwriting, but still. Although it's not as nice, legible, not clean. I don't have good writing in English or Korean. My writing is kind of like, kind of scribbly in every language I try. Okay, look at this sentence. Try to translate it on your own. You don't have to write it in the chat. You can if you want. Think about it though. 바지를 입다 보면 늘어날 거라고 했는데 아직도 너무 불편해요. If you wear pants, that's all I know. If you wear pants, you can go into most stores. Yes. You need a shirt though to get into all stores. Oh no, shoes, shirt and shoes. But if you get at least pants, that's 30% of the way to access the majority of stores in the United States. Oh, and someone said something. 12131415 asks, do you need to only use it with action verbs? No. When I first explained this form, I didn't say action verb stem. I said verb stem. However, again, almost every single time this form gets used, it's with action verbs. But that doesn't mean it has to be. You could say, like, if you keep being like nervous, then you're gonna you won't be able to memorize Korean well. I don't know, something like that. 방황하다 보면, like it works with descriptive verbs. It's just less common that it gets used for that. If you keep being a certain way, is valid. So you'll see it with descriptive verbs too on occasion, but nearly every time you come across this form and nearly every time you're going to use it will be an action verb. But I didn't say action verb stem because it does appear with descriptive verbs too from time to time. Yeah, nice translation, Danielle. I like how you added that in. Yeah, very good, Bonnie. Good job. Oh, hey, Bonnie. Bonnie did some really cool artwork for my server. Little, some emoticons, what do you call it? Little stickers and stuff in the server. If you let out your pants, not let out. Like, it's like a pet. And I'm not sure if you meant that though. 바지를 입다 보면. So once you start wearing pants, it's probably not a good translation for this, right? Be like something you say to like a caveman or something. Well, once you start wearing pants, you never go back. 바지를 입다 보면. No, this would sound better as if you keep wearing pants. 늘어나다. 늘어나다 is to stretch out, to loosen up, like to stretch. So 늘어날 거라고 했는데. Now this is a quoting form. You said, or they said, that they will stretch out if you keep wearing them. 바지를 입다 보면 늘어날 거라고 했는데. You know, they said that if I wear these pants, they're going to stretch out. Or you said, we don't know. They said that if I wear these pants, they're going to stretch out, right? Like, they're tight, but if you wear them, they're going to stretch out. So you'll get used to them. They'll stretch a bit, right? They'll fit you. And that happens usually with pants. You buy a pair of pants, it's a little bit tight, but you know, you wear it a lot and it does loosen a little bit. But 했는데, so they said that, but 아직도 still 너무 too much to 불편하다 is to be uncomfortable. 아직도 너무 불편해요. But they're still too uncomfortable. So they said that if I keep wearing these pants, they're going to stretch out, but they're still too uncomfortable. 바지를 입다 보면 늘어날 거라고 했는데 아직도 너무 불편해요. 아직도 너무 불편해요. I'm doing it twice because I have to edit the video later. It saves me time in editing. 바지를 입다 보면 늘어날 거라고 했는데 아직도 너무 불편해요. Okay. Once you start wearing pants. Yeah. I recommend wearing pants. If you haven't tried it, you should all try it. Everyone should try. At least once, you know. Say that you tried it. Even people in Scotland. Try wearing pants. They're great. I really hope there's no one from Scotland watching. Someone asked, what does 거라고 mean? Well, this is an advanced lesson. So you should already be familiar with the prerequisites before this lesson. We're not going to be going over the individual parts, but if this part doesn't make sense, look up quoting forms. I even have live streams about it and lessons about it. Quoting forms in Korean. 늘어날 거라고 했는데 아직도 너무 불편해요. Say, okay, 바지를 입다 보면 늘어날 거라고 했는데 아직도 너무 불편해요. So, you said, or someone said, that my pants would stretch out if I keep wearing them, but they're still too uncomfortable. So they didn't stretch out. Okay, now let's move on. We're not done with this form. There's a little more we can talk about if we compare this with other forms. So some people out there who are intermediates, and you've already learned the Taga는 form, might be wondering, well, Billy, what's the difference between 타보면 and Taga는? That's you're asking that question. No, what's the difference between 타보면 and Taga는? Because both of these can translate as if you keep. So if you keep doing something, well, there are a few major differences. I'm going to separate them here. The first major difference is that 타보면 is just for any result. So it doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't have to be, if you keep doing that, you're going to get hurt. It can be any sort of result, positive or negative. Now, typically, this is either neutral or positive. Neutral would be an example like, if kids, if kids are playing together, they're bound to get hurt. They're bound to fight. That kind of thing is more neutral. It's not positive, but it's not like a warning, right? You're not saying, don't let the kids play together. They're going to have a fight. You're not saying that. You're just saying, it's bound to happen. If kids are playing together, they're going to get hurt. They're going to have a fight. That sort of thing. So it's not a warning. It's just any result. Or it can be a good thing, if you keep reading books every day, you're going to get faster at reading. Good. Taga는, however, is typically for a negative result. So because of that, it's more often used for warning someone. Hey, if you keep doing that, you're going to that sort of meaning. If you keep driving with a blindfold on, you're going to have an accident. That sort of thing is like, it's a negative result. Don't do that, first of all. So it sounds like you're warning them. The tone that comes with Taga는 is like almost like you're warning. Like, hey, if you keep doing that, that's sort of annoying tone. That's what you get. Also, this one, 타보면, can be used with both action verbs and descriptive verbs. Although we only saw it used in examples with action verbs. There might be an example with descriptive verbs in the worksheet. I can't remember if I put one in there. But it can be used with any kind of verb, although typically it's used only with action verbs. 타가는, however, is only going to be used with action verbs. Actually, I don't even need to write this. This is pretty obvious. If you keep doing something, it's going to be used with action verbs every single time for 타가는. Let's see. So 타가는 is used to express an opinion that something negative will happen. So it's kind of like you're warning someone about an action. Now, I should say you might see 타가는 also with the descriptive verb, but it's rare. So you can actually learn both of these as mainly with actions because that's how they're going to be used the majority of the time, nearly every time. Okay. Both of these forms though have something in common, and that's you will not end the sentence. You're not going to end the sentence with either of these forms with the past tense. So you wouldn't say if you keep doing something, something happened, past tense, or with this form, it has to be present tense or future tense. Something will happen. Let's see what else. Oh yeah. So we also learned that 타보면 is always the regular present tense stem. So if you have the verb 하다, it's always 100% of the time 하다 보면. Never 했다, never 하겠다. 타가는, however, though, can use the past tense. So you can have 하다가는 or you can have 했다가는. What's the difference? Please watch the live stream that I already taught about this to know what the difference is. It's a different form. It works in a different way. So yeah, watch that for that. But just know that 타가는 could use it. So if you ever see a sentence that's like 했다가, it's not this. It's this. 했다가는, it's going to be this form. Okay. Although if it's 했다가, it's not, but 했다가는 would be this form. Let's see, what else do we need to talk about here? Also, oh yes. If you use 타가는 with a past tense, again, watch the live stream to get that. But really quick, it makes it more just like a hypothetical situation. So it makes it more just like a strong if. If you do something. Not if you keep doing something, but if you do something. So that's pretty much all you have to think about. All right, let me give you an example sentence using both of these forms so you can kind of see what I mean. Actually, let's write this down. I would write that when I have more space. 빠질 것 같아요. Okay, what does this sentence mean? 계속 굶다 보면 살이 빠질 것 같아요. 계속. So if you keep 굶다 is to starve. So if you're starving yourself. So if you keep starving yourself, 살이 빠질 것 같아요. I think you're going to lose weight if you keep starving yourself, right? It's like, hey, you're not eating. If you keep doing that, well, I mean, you're going to lose weight. Or if you keep starving yourself, you're bound to lose weight. Could work. Like, hey, well, if you keep starving yourself, you're going to lose weight. Okay. Versus this. 굶다 가는. Now we have a warning. Check something really quick. Okay. Now we have more of like a warning. Like, hey, careful, if you keep starving yourself, what do you think might come after that? You don't have to write it, just think about it. What do you think might come after that sort of warning? I'm going to write an example here. 건강을 해칠 거예요. 해치다 is to harm or damage. 계속 굶다가는 건강을 해칠 거예요. So if you keep starving yourself, you're going to hurt your health. You're going to damage your health. It's bad for you, right? You don't want to keep starving yourself. It's bad for you. Versus 굶다 보면, if you try just starving yourself for a while, you're bound to lose weight, right? Versus that, now you're saying you shouldn't do it. You're warning them. Something bad's going to happen. 계속 굶다가는 건강을 해칠 거예요. 해칠 걸? You're going to starve yourself. You're going to hurt yourself if you keep starving yourself like that. That sort of meaning. 계속 굶다가는 건강을 해칠 거예요. Okay, that was just a quick example, but you didn't really need that sentence as long as you know that they're different. And okay, but we're not done. We're not done. There's another grammar form that is often compared with 타보면. I'm going to write the full form here. So first we have 타가 보면 or 타보면, as we saw. There's another grammar form. Now, if we want to learn about this form, I would have to do a full live stream about this form because there's actually a lot we could talk about and there would be a lot of example sentences I would want to show. So this is not a complete comparison of these two forms. This is just a quick, very quick overview of how they are different because these are different forms. Both of these use the taga form as well as the verb 보다 to see. 하다 보면 or 하다 보니까. Now the ka is optional, so you might also hear 하다 보니. And just like this one, you might have taga. So it could be 하다 보니 or 하다가 보니 or 하다 보니까 or 하다가 보니까. All of those are perfectly fine. Okay, 하다 보니까. So this 다 보니까 form is different than this. It doesn't mean that if you keep doing something, then something will happen. It doesn't mean that here is the result of doing this. Instead, it means after the speaker does something. Well, it doesn't have to be the speaker. After the subject. I'll say that. Let me update this. Subject. Okay, I'll write that. Let me write it up here first. Okay, this form is different in that it means after the subject, so whoever's saying this, whoever you're talking about, after that person does an action for a while. So after they've done an action, then they realize something. So instead of just showing this is the result of something, which 타보면 does, this form focuses on someone realizing something. So hey, after doing that for a while, I came to realize that, then you finish the sentence with that realization. So these forms have very different uses, although they look like they could be the same type of thing. So, I'm just going to give you two quick ways you can translate this form. And again, I'll do a live stream about this in the future if I get requested to. Oh, actually, I already did get requested. I think I'm going to put this on the list for the next set of votes. If you want me to teach more topics, though, by the way, if you are a member, please get in your requests to me today. Send them to me on Discord, send them to me by email, whatever, or Patreon, even better. Send me a message with your requests for live streams, and I can add them to the next time we do voting. Okay, so this form, I'm just going to tell you, write these down. These are ways you can translate this. The translation for this form will depend on whether you're using it with an action verb or a descriptive verb, but the literal meaning, the actual usage, will stay the same in that you're realizing something. How you can translate this with an action verb? You can translate it as, I did something, and before I knew it, So if we were to use 하다 as an example, to do, so we get 하다 보니까. So I did that, 하다, and before I knew it, right? So you're realizing something. Hey, 요리하다, to cook. Here we had 요리하다 보면, 매일 요리하다 보면, you're going to get better at cooking, right? You're going to get faster. 요리하는 속도가 빨라질 거예요. Like our example, you're going to get faster at cooking, you know? The result of cooking every day is you get faster. This one is different. 요리하다 보니까, you know, I cooked and before I knew it, I was making good food. Something like that. Or another way to translate it is simply, and after. So, and after cooking, then I realized something. So this one's focused more on the realization, and this one's more about the result. With descriptive verbs, though, there are other ways you'll translate this, since descriptive verbs obviously are not going to sound good if you say, you know, and after doing something, and after being busy, doesn't make any sense. With descriptive verbs, now this is very commonly used with descriptive verbs, just as much as action verbs. With descriptive verbs, it has a completely different translation. So you're still realizing something, but instead of an action, you're talking about a state, a description. So with the descriptive verb, here's how you can translate it. Seeing as. So seeing as that person's a Korean teacher, they should know what they're talking about. Given that the person over there is a Korean teacher, they should know what they're talking about, or they should speak good Korean, or even just because, or since. So it's kind of more like an explanation word. I know here's another way to say because, right? You know, since that person's a Korean teacher, they should speak Korean well. They probably know what they're talking about, right? Seeing as, given that. These are very good translations for this form. And I use this form all the time when I'm talking. 보니까, like seeing as something is that. Like, you know, seeing as they're busy, seeing as that day is not free, seeing as, you know, we're going to be meeting that day anyway, right? That sort of meaning. Literally, that sort of situation is already going on. So I realize, hey, since that's going on anyway, seeing that it's going on anyway, or, you know, seeing as, given that, because, then suggests something or saying something about that, like that. Also, you can end a sentence with past tense with this form. So it's much more flexible than the other forms that we've learned. So you can say like, seeing as, let's see, given that something, well, something happened, logically flows. Because you're not saying the result of something, of keep doing something, is that something already happened. You're saying something will happen if you keep doing that. This one is different. You're just saying doing something and then I realized something. What did I realize? Well, something happened is okay in this form. You can end a sentence with past tense when you're using this form. Totally okay. But that's all I can go into for this form for today because we haven't actually done a live stream about this form. And I was thinking about actually including it in this live stream, but I figure it'll make this too long. And I don't want to do a 2-hour lesson about two forms that sometimes are confused with each other. So I just wanted to point out that this form is different than this form and keep that in mind. And in the future, we're going to be doing another live stream about this form only, and you'll get some more differences in how it's used. But like I said, that'll be on the vote for next time we do the vote on next Monday. So you can vote for that if you want it, or vote for something else if you don't. Okay, that is our lesson today. So now we have time for a little bit of... Now we have time for a little bit of Q&A. Check here. Yeah, someone's commenting if you wear pants. Okay. Really quick, if you want to get the worksheet for today's lesson, it is already available on Patreon. The outline for today's lesson will also be up on Patreon within 30 minutes, so make sure to check those out. If you are a member, also check the channel tonight. You're going to get the abridged version of this lesson within a few hours from now. I'm going to really quickly edit that as soon as we finish this. And there is a Discord channel if you want to join us. There are lots of people there. We're always... people aren't talking 24/7 in every channel, but if you join, you say something, there will be someone there that's listening. Someone can answer your questions. Someone can chat with you all of the time. And again, that's completely free. So, yes. Oh, and again, no class next Sunday. No class next Sunday. We have 1 week off. But the next Sunday after that, we'll be back. We'll do 3 more in a row on Sundays. Okay. Now, thank you for coming. We have time to do a little bit of Q&A. So if you have any questions you wanted to ask, now is a good time. Okay, let's remove that. Okay. I feel smarter now. Nice. That's the goal, is to help everyone feel smarter through learning Korean. And again, if you didn't get that lesson, it's fine. It's an advanced level lesson, because before you would do this form, you would first probably want to be really comfortable with using the regular 하면, 한다면, the regular if form. Because you can express everything you want to express just with that form, minus the cool connotation. You can express if you do something using that form. So yeah, although this one does have some connotation, that one doesn't. So it's not like it's the same thing. It's not just a fancier version of that. But you really want to be familiar with all of the prerequisites before trying this lesson. That way you can really get why you would want to use this form. Okay. Throwaway. I've seen some of your videos about topic. So yeah, now feel free to ask any questions. I'll check out the chat for about 10 minutes, or you're free to leave if you don't want to do any more Korean learning. You don't have any questions. Thank you though for coming. If you'll wonder if you ever make a live stream about topic. No, I don't have any plans to do a live stream about topic. The best way to prepare for topic is just taking topic practice tests. So any sort of live stream to explain something on the topic test, I mean, it would be really more like private tutoring. Like we would just be going through a test, going through questions and talking about why they're wrong or why this answer is correct. But that sort of thing, I don't even think I would be allowed to do it in YouTube, because Topic, I think, might be protective of their materials. I don't know if they'd want people going over their tests. So I don't know. I would want to be careful about that. They could like get mad at me for teaching their old test questions on my YouTube channel. So because it's not my property. Yeah, Dobson asks, what's the difference between 아직 and 아직도? That's it. 아직도 has more emphasis, like still, that sort of emphasis. I still am learning Korean after 16 years. Although that's normal. I was making a joke. You never really learn all of a language. But you could say, are you still in Korea? Yeah, I'm still in Korea. You could say, I'm still in Korea. Like, I can't get out of here. That sort of meaning. It just adds more emphasis, but it has the same meaning. You can use either 아직 or 아직도. Both are fine. Lauren Holton, I watched this as intermediate. That's fine. Like I said, as long as you are familiar, as long as you know the prerequisites, someone would be able to follow along with this lesson no matter what their level is. If you know the prerequisites, that is. Otherwise, yeah, then you'll be confused. Like, why are you using this form? Why didn't you use this form? What's that mean? Ivana Madden, I've seen Professor Yoon on YouTube make a couple videos on Topic. He's also a fantastic Korean teacher. Yeah, of course I know him. Of course I know Professor Yoon. We know each other. We're cool. We're buds. Best friends. Actually, I've never met him before. But yeah, we do know of each other. I've watched a bunch of his YouTube videos before. I picture him like that's where I'm heading to. Give me another 20 years, and maybe I'll become like him. He just needs these shirts. He already has like some checkered shirts. He just needs a hat, and he needs one of these shirts. Maybe I should send him one of my extra hats, and send him one of my extra shirts, and then he can start wearing this, because that's kind of where I'm going. Another 20 years, and I'll become the future Professor Yoon. I'll take over his legacy when I get a little older. Okay. Lauren says, are there any new words you've learned in recent years, even with being so advanced? Of course. Of course. I am not a native speaker. No matter how much Korean I learn, no matter that I can have full conversations in Korean right now, I am still learning every day. So yeah, right. Let me show you. It's a little secret. I don't really bother people by telling them what I'm studying. Currently, I'm studying a series of books. Actually, I have all of them right here. These aren't really advanced materials, I would say. I'd say mostly they're intermediate. It's like a book series. They have actually several other books, but these are the only ones I need. 살아있는 한국어, so like living Korean, whatever. And these ones are specifically for teaching. Let's put them back here. For teaching idioms, so idiomatic phrases. Now, really common ones I already know, because people use them all the time. So of course I would know what they mean. Like for example, one of the ones I'm reading the whole book, whether I know it or not. I'm reading through all of them. So like a really common one, 비행기를 태우다, literally means to give someone a ride in an airplane. And it's used to mean to over-compliment someone. Like you'd say, hey, don't give me a ride in your airplane. Like I'm getting dizzy. Stop. It's kind of like stop complimenting me. That sort of, it's like a funny idiom. It's really common, but it has stuff like that. But then in addition, it'll give some that are less common versions of ones that you already know, which are useful to me, because I would already know, like, of course I'd know that one. But then it might say, oh, well, did you know this other expression can have a similar meaning? It would be something else unrelated. Like, oh, interesting. I didn't know that. I never heard that. Or I heard it, but I never really thought of it. So it's really good. So yeah, I learn new idioms every single day. Lately, that's my studying. Before I was doing that book, though, my studying was I was doing some Korean games, and I would pick up new words from there. Yeah, I'm learning new stuff all the time. It's not going to be like, I'm not going to be learning basic words, obviously, because all of the basic words that are commonly used, I already know. Like, what's the word for ball? What's the word for roof, or wall? Like, all of those things are considered part of the basic Korean that you would need to speak fluently. Like lights, like white, like a board, all these things. But beyond that, there's a lot of Korean out there that I don't know yet. Like, I wouldn't know the word for, I can't think of the word right now for smoke detector. Although I think I'd probably, let's see, what is the word for smoke detector? I probably understand it, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. Let's see. Youngi Tamji. Oh, okay, I heard that word before. But yeah, like stuff like that, like learning, not just learning to recognize the word, because I could, if someone were to say like, oh, our 연기 탐지기가 잘 안 돼, or like 계속 막 삐삐 소리가 나, or something keeps beeping. Like I would understand if someone said that, but I wouldn't use it myself because I don't use the word. But yeah, stuff like that I would still be learning. It's just different stuff, or like, less common idioms. Like instead of being able to say something like basic, like, oh, like that person's brazen. No, they really are shameless. Instead of saying like that, like having other expressions to use that are like, they have a similar meaning but are less common, or maybe sound a little different. So stuff like that. Yeah, I'm still learning every day. Where'd you get those books? Like I said, I'm not recommending. I always hesitate when people ask me specifically which books I'm using, because I have a lot. These are just some. These aren't all my books. These are some of the books that I'm using lately. Actually, two of those are not integrated. I'm not using integrated. Here's some of the books I'm using lately. Like, I don't really want to recommend specific books, because again, like if you're looking for books to learn Korean, these are not the answers. These are advanced books, or I'm using them for an advanced purpose. Even if the book itself like might not be made for advanced speakers, Like I have a grammar, couple grammar books here, like a grammar dictionary. Like it's not really made for an advanced learner. It's just a regular grammar reference. I have actually two grammar reference books and a vocabulary reference book. Even though they're not really made for advanced, like they're not difficult, they're not really anything you would need unless you're trying to prepare lessons or you're really, really interested in studying details and stuff. So I hesitate to recommend some of those because they're not really made for learners, especially not beginners or intermediates. This would be like once you already can have conversations and you feel like, oh, I want to take my Korean to the next level now. I can have full conversations, but I want to have, even better full conversations. I want to sound even more like a native. Then you would start accessing those books. Like, for example, this would be a better book. You're looking for something that you just want to get better at Korean with. This. Hyunwoo gave it to me, so I'll advertise it for him. I've never used this book before, obviously, because I'm not intermediate level. So I never needed this book, but he gave it to me. It was very nice of him. I think he wanted me to see the formatting they did, which is very pretty. This would have stuff that a beginner and an intermediate would need because it would teach words like, leg. Words like 갖다주다, to bring something. To borrow, respectively, 각자, respectively, for each person, respectively. Like these are words that you need to know, but they're not necessarily like beyond the basics. So this would be a better book, or even the most recent one he gave me. So this is why Hyunwoo gave me these books. He knows I'm going to show them off my stream. This is one he gave me when I was in Korea just a couple months ago when I met him. Obviously, I don't need this book. This is not for my level. But he's very kind and he gives me a book every time I go to his offices. And this one just has basic Korean sentences. So, it has like, I dried my hair, I combed my hair, I tied my hair, I blow dried my hair and combed it with a comb. Like stuff like that. That's really useful for building your sentences in the first place, but isn't something that you're going to use for like writing lessons. It's not advanced level material. This would be like beginner, intermediate stuff. Probably closer to like, transitioning to the intermediate level. Someone who's just starting to have full conversations and wants to have a little bit better. Like this type of stuff, but this isn't the stuff I use. So I don't really want to recommend the stuff that I use because it's not for most people's level. So yeah. Okay. Someone say nice green. Oh, I didn't even realize that's all green. I didn't even know that. I wasn't even looking at that. Sorry. Okay, this is what the... Build and extend your Korean sentence. I didn't even realize this was green. Someone's like, okay. Well, it's not green on the inside. Oh, like, this is my favorite book. And I hold up like nothing in front of the camera. What, you don't like this book? Can't you see it? Okay, anyway, that's enough of that. Yeah, so don't go out and be like, oh, Billy uses this book, I should buy it. Like, no, that's not my recommendation for you. That's my recommendation if you're a Korean teacher and you're interested in starting a YouTube channel. That's what I would recommend for you. If you're learning Korean, I would not recommend it for you because it's not catered to that. In fact, the book I'm using right now it's not made for self-studying. It's for classroom usage only. You can tell because they have lots of exercises that are supposed to be done with a teacher or with other students. And it's all written in Korean too. So yeah. Okay. Maybe Hyunwoo was trying to tell me, maybe he was trying to tell me, he's like, Billy, I don't know how to tell you this, but your Korean stinks. You got to go back to the basics. That's probably what he's trying to tell me. No, I know Hyunwoo. He's given me 1, 2 books, 3. I guess 3 if you count the book that I made together with them. Yeah, because we also did the Common Mistakes Korean Learners Make. We did that book together. Oh, Bonnie. Thank you, Bonnie. Wow. I totally forgot that I still had my donations were still open. Bonnie, thank you. Let's give you 10 dabs. 10 dabs for your $10 donation. But first, let's read it. Looking forward to more advanced lessons. Thank you so much. Yes, please. And if you have a topic for something you'd like to learn, you're a channel member, so you can leave that as a suggestion to me, and I might add it to the list. In fact, there's a high chance I'll add it to the next voting list. Okay, let's do 10 dabs here. Thank you. Okay. Any other Korean questions? Any other questions before we stop the stream for today? Still got like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Any other quick questions? Hyun present. I failed to sleep and I saw this passes by. Yes, yes. TT Meek books bring me happiness. Yeah, I'm jealous they have such well done formatting. So I'll try to do better with my formatting. My books are pretty basic when it comes to formatting. Anyone who owns my books. Except actually, I think my Korean reading made simple. I think I did a pretty good job for the formatting for what it is. It's very basic, but like I tried my best to make like social media posts or like emails, like different fonts. You know, like I have, here's like a letter. So like I formatted it to kind of look like a letter with like, you know, background. But it's still pretty basic, like a news article, like I would use a news font. It's still pretty basic though compared to Talk to Me in Korean, which are like full color, you know, like fancy design and cool art everywhere. I just don't have the money to do that. I'm just one person. I don't have a company. Oh, Iman, what is SEK20? While searching SEK, I almost typed Shrek. What's the conversion rate of Shreks to US dollars? Thank you. It's a little over $2. Let's do 2 dabs. Last minute of the donation. Thank you. I appreciate it. Any other quick questions? Chloe Lee, how often do Koreans use hamatomyeon? Not very often, but it's often enough that you'll see it in textbooks. That's actually $11. Oh, you're right, Bonnie, because that's in different currency. You gave me the currency, the E currency. Oh, so I think I broke Hyunwoo the other day. I made the worst dad joke to Hyunwoo. Now he likes dad jokes. Me and him will do lots of really dumb jokes. If you ever seen us together, we always try to like one up each other, making a worse pun than the other. So every time Hyunwoo joins my live stream, he's not here, so I'm talking about it. Every time Hyunwoo, don't tell him I'm talking about him. Every time I do a live stream and Hyunwoo would come in, he would donate to me. And normally the default donation amount in Korean money is 12,000won. 12,000won. So 12,000 won. The reason that's a default option, in addition to like, I think like 2,000 or something like that, is because this converts out to about $10 USD. So it's one of the default options. Like, how much do you want to donate? You know, $1, $5, $10. Well, in Korea, the $10 donation is 12,000won. Okay, so Hyunwoo would always just donate 12,000won. And I asked him over Katok, I was like, why do you always donate every time? Why do you always donate specifically 12,000won? Because I didn't know. And he told me, oh, it's one of the default numbers that YouTube tells you. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then I thought of the dumbest dad joke ever. So let me see exactly what I said to him. I'm going to share this with you because it's bad. He hasn't recovered. He still never replied after I said that. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I said... So I wanted to thank him for his support because he's always so supportive of me. So I said this. It's so dumb. If you understand it, it's terrible. If you don't understand it, I'll explain it to you. 항상 많이들 주. So dumb. I can't even say it. 항상 많이들 주셔서 감사해요. So thank you, 감사해요. Thank you for always giving me, always. 많이. This is pronounced the same way as 많이. It's also pronounced as 많이. But instead it's like 많이. So this, 많이. Thank you for always giving me a lot. Thank you for always giving me 많이. And Hyunwoo's reaction, I'll write Hyunwoo's whole reaction. This is all he said to me. His whole reaction after that. I think I broke him. He's like, LOL. Like nothing, like, get out of here. And then he left. So I haven't seen him since. No one knows where Hyunwoo is since then. He's been off the map. I think he just took a long drive, thought about his life, thought about his friendships. He's like, maybe considered blocking me for a few moments. Yeah, so. Okay, any other quick Korean questions? That was kind of related to Korean. We need a video of you two doing dad jokes. I don't have a video with Hyunwoo doing dad jokes, but I do have a video doing dad jokes. I did a dad joke game on the Apple Store with one of my friends. If you search my videos, I think it's in Glass with Billy. The Glass with Billy series, I did one where we did 50 dad jokes, and we tried to guess them with an app. And I did really well. Actually, I think I even did better than my Korean friend that I was playing with, who also likes dad jokes. So I was really proud of myself how well I did. And we did 50, although I only show like 30 or so in the video because some of them were a bit, either they were too inappropriate for the video because the app had some that were like, not very appropriate, or they just were too complicated to explain, so we cut them out. But yeah, it's pretty funny. You can watch that. It's on my channel. He is healing. Yes. Okay. Clip it and send. No, please don't send it to him. I don't want to embarrass myself anymore. Okay. Let's read the chat here. I remember that video. Yeah, I liked that. I was really happy with that. Okay. I think that's enough for today. I don't want to talk too long. We're at 3:30, so that's exactly when I wanted to finish. Thank you everyone for coming. And remember, if you want to see more advanced topics, join my page. Join as a member and make a request for an advanced topic, and there's a high chance you'll get it. The reason we have mostly beginner and intermediate topics is because that's the ones that members are usually suggesting are more intermediate and beginner. But if you suggest advanced, you'll get more advanced. So that's how you do it. Thank you for coming, and I'll see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.